From Hanoi to Saigon, graffiti art is becoming part of the cultural landscape.
In this episode, we'll see how contemporary architecture and design is incorporating graffiti into the landscape.
Also, we're going to meet some of the best graffiti artists who are making Vietnam their home.
It's gonna be so awesome hanging out and getting to know what's really happening in the Vietnam's graffiti scene.
Absolutely, and not to mention we're going to try some of the best food and drink that Vietnam has to offer.
Like the iced lemon tea in the heart of Hanoi.
And the bún chả with insect essence. Now, I'm not too sure about that.
You're making me hungry.
Before we start that, we're going to meet a fantastic new female artist called Cancun, who is making a big splash in Vietnam.
Great, let's go check it out. I
Let's
can't
get
wait.
started.
Và tôi đã thấy đời cũng như những giấc mơ nào không biết trước được lúc sau. Tỉnh giấc hay nằm mơ thì cũng như nhau. Và anh có thấy hạnh phúc đôi lúc quá xa vời, như cánh chim mãi miết bay về nơi phía cuối chân trời.
Hello, Cancun. Thank you very much for your time today. First of all, about your name, I've heard that there's a very interesting story behind it.
Actually, my name in Vietnamese is Trang.
Trang.
So my friend called me Kang since I was a dancer. For me, I think music is such a gift. And I really want to share that with people. What I feel, what I see the world, what I think. Maybe somehow they listen to my music, they can feel something and they get inspiration.
I've heard that you are also a dancer before turning to singing. Was that a sudden realization or it's something that you always knew you wanted to do?
I was into music and dancing since I was little. For me, it's only about the time. This time, I really want to focus on dancing, and another time, I want to sing, so I sing. I have friends who are musicians. They don't want to show off. They only working with their passion and love with music, in making music.
Have you faced any challenges and what are the things most memorable?
I'm making music, but I don't think I'm in music industry. I have friends who are musicians also, and they help me a lot. I really need people want to share the same idea or want to work with me as a team to give the music to people.
I have seen your previous music video. It's very new and interesting for me. So would you please share a few thoughts about that and how did that happen?
Since I have the idea for the music first, then I think I should do something with this music. I asked my friend who are dancer also, and she helped me a lot in like choreography. That was memorable for me.
Thank you very much for your time. And I really look forward to your future projects. Hope to see you more and more on television, on the stage, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Spicy.
Hanoi, am I right in thinking that Hanoi is the home of bún chả?
Definitely must eat bún chả when you're in Hanoi. It's very popular and it's also one of my favorites.
Bún chả is a kind of soup. It's a fish sauce soup, but also with grilled pork as well. So it's kind of a really nice combination of some different textures and flavors.
Here's the small noodle. Here's the grilled pork. The special thing about this place is they grill the pork belly with some leaves. I love garlic. Personally, I really love garlic. I'm a big fan of the chili as well. They marinated this pork very carefully and they use lemongrass juice. Here's the meatball, the pork meatball that we're talking about. And here's the grilled pork belly. The thing I love about this dish is there's always a lot of local herbs. They smell like heaven. This is cà cuống in Vietnamese, and it's a kind of insect that its essence would flavor the fish sauce.
It does have a strong taste. It's kind of salty.
Its smell is much stronger than its taste.
Yeah.
I can see there's some more side dishes coming.
Some more side dishes. Okay, great.
Pour a little bit of this. This is their famous deep fried spring roll. Usually it's crab, seafood for the meat inside, and a lot of mushroom, carrots. This is a shrimp cake. It smells like flour.
It's a very unique taste though. It's kind of, I can't even describe it.
Really good. The seafood spring roll has a name here in Hanoi, which is nem cua bể.
So I don't know about you, Annie, but I think we're really lucky to have found this gem of a restaurant. We've got some incredible dishes here, something I've never ever tried in my life before.
I'm very happy too because today I have found a new place for my favorite dish, bún chả. So if you have a chance to be here in Hanoi, don't forget to check this place out and don't forget to try the insect.
Okay guys, so we're here with Subi, artist, teacher, mentor, and one of the key proponents of street art and graffiti in Saigon at the moment. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation of how graffiti started for you?
I started graffiti when I was 14 in France, Paris. At that time, the older brother was doing graffiti. It was something new. So we, the younger, we just follow them and trying to do our own stuff. Then I started to really like graffiti, and 20 years later, I'm still doing graffiti.
So obviously we can see now we've got the space here, which is 3A. It's a fantastic spot. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation about how this place came to be?
Mai, the owner of the place, she used to have a lot of gallery and she really likes art in general. She was one of the first art galleries that really support graffiti. You know, she really encouraged youngs to do graffiti, to do workshop here. She invited me to paint one of the first wall here. Who wants to come paint, you can just come and do graffiti or whatever.
Graffiti is popular now with the young artists. 3 stations from the beginning is supporting the artists. It's not only the painting on the wall. It's inspired by the idea, the creations. So we have more functions like coffee, tea, music on the streets. So they should become the trendy place with the designer, the new people have a new idea, very inspired. Special.
And sometimes we hear the term street art, and sometimes we hear the term graffiti. Can you explain how those two are different from each other?
Graffiti was something related to hip-hop in the late 70s. It was some kids that wanted to express themselves. They went on the wall and writing their stuff. In street art is different. Street art is more people who's doing stencil. Typical academic artist who's now going on the street. Most of the people prefer street art because it's easier to understand.
Mathew James witnessed the establishment of graffiti in 80s London, and today he's going to tell us about developing his personal style of artwork, graffilation. Hi, Mathew.
Hi.
I know that you have painted all around the world. So what do you enjoy in traveling so much?
I enjoy travelling and painting around the world because of the influences that you get from seeing different artists. And it's quite refreshing to see those different techniques being used and then trying to include that within sort of my artwork or giving it my twist.
Can you please share with us the different mediums that you use?
Traditionally, I am a graffiti artist, which means using a spray can, and I have done that for many, many years. Now, now I've taken a slight shift in using maybe acrylics and emulsions.
You have developed your own personal style of artwork, the graffilation.
I use graffiti as sort of like 3D, but then I've also had elements of what is illustration, so more 2D stuff. So that's why I've coined the phrase graffilation, graffiti and illustration.
So I know that you have involved in a lot of graffiti workshops. What do you aim to do with these?
My workshops, I hope to introduce just a different way of looking at the world in regards to shapes, colours, as a release and a possible career. Art is a good way to relax. So if you do have a stressful life or a stressful job, so it can be used in many different factors. And then also we're thinking about creating a sort of collective of artists here in Hanoi, get ourselves a studio so we can have exhibitions and have a place where people can come and do workshops, be exposed to certain techniques, spray paint, printing, design, computer aided. That's what I would like to do.
Thank you very much for your time, and Spicy Vietnam wishes you all the best and all the good luck in the future, and we can't wait to see your next artwork.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me.
How do you see graffiti, and how is the graffiti scene in Saigon right now?
Since the four past years, it's grown up really fast. We have more and more graffiti artists. We have more artists from overseas who's coming here. Most of the artists I met here, they don't have anything to envy to the foreigners or whatever. From Saigon to Hanoi, it's the same thing. The hip-hop, the graffiti, and this kind of culture is coming bigger and bigger every day.
Và cái ý tưởng để thực hiện cái khu này là do cái sự thiếu thốn một cái không gian sáng tạo. Cộng đồng những người làm sáng tạo, những người làm về nghệ thuật cũng như cái công chúng của họ có một cái nơi để họ giao lưu, được thể hiện, được kết nối, được gặp gỡ và được hưởng thụ những cái sáng tạo do các nghệ sĩ và các cộng đồng làm sáng tạo.
He's young, he's passionate, and he's on the way to legitimizing graffiti at a real art form. Let's have a talk with Trần Tiến Dũng, whose nickname is Zunk. You began as a breakdancer and then a rapper. How did the music influence your art?
At first, I listened to hip-hop music and I found that it's really creative, really hard impact into my mind. Then I tried to compose a song like a rapper, and also I tried to train breakdance. But I remember that I have the hobby that to drawing. I tried graffiti and I find that it's my passion, something in the hip hop culture, but also from myself. I started graffiti in 2006. Graffiti has appeared in Vietnam for 15 years. In the last 5 years, graffiti writers find their own direction in their activity. Some people adapt graffiti into tattoo. Some people play graffiti as a kind of street art. The people in Vietnamese, at first they didn't like graffiti by the meaning of the pictures and by the position that we choose to paint on. The people could understand and accept.
What is the highlight of your artwork altogether?
We just meet each other and go directly to paint. We always want to transform our idea in one theme. Long word mean big pictures. I'm Zunk, graffiti writer, and you are watching Spicy Vietnam.
This exhibition's name is Time. In all my artwork before, previous artwork, are always been related to time. I mean, for me, time is the most precious thing. People say family or whatever, but you still need time to go see your family or whatever. So time for me is really something precious and something that I really value now as I'm getting older. From the street to the gallery, that's a big step, there's a huge gap, but I think it's a natural evolution. I'm a kind of artist that like to try new things, to take risks. The graffiti is still the same for me as before when I was doing train or whatever illegal stuff. It was risky. And with this exhibition, I've done some risky stuff and always the same energy. keep searching, doing new stuff, and that's what my artwork is all about. Hi, I'm Subi, and you're watching Spicy Vietnam.
Spicy.
All right, so I finally got here in Hanoi. This seems like a pretty interesting place. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
This is one of the most popular spots to hang out for the young people here. We're lucky to be here. We have this beautiful cathedral for our view, and we're gonna try now some very popular drink and snacks.
I'm living in Saigon at the moment, so we drink probably too much coffee. Hanoi, the style's a little bit different?
Yeah, they are a little bit different. They actually prefer drinking tea more than coffee. This place is very famous for iced tea in different versions. So they have iced lemon tea, iced peach tea, and coming along with that are the local snack. I'm gonna get a lemon iced tea.
Wow, okay, excellent.
This is a standard combo, but you know what this is?
These are sunflower seeds.
This is nem, which is some kind of cured meat.
Deep fried cured meat.
Young people come here, they come for a chat, for gossip, and they just start to talk, and these will keep their mouth, happy. I would have a sip of the tea first.
Okay, well, cheers to that.
Cheers, thank you for being here.
Of course.
This is chili sauce. It's a little bit strong, so you gotta be careful, huh?
It's awesome. Should we go with the sunflower seeds then?
What do you usually do?
I usually try and do it with my hands.
I'm gonna do it with my teeth. Crack it with your teeth and try to split it.
All right. I did it.
See, nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible, but just for that. The sun's going down. I'm not going to try and finish that off. But anyway, so let's carry on with our teas. Cheers again. If anyone's got time when they're in Hanoi, you've got to check it out. It's a fantastic spot. Very simple, but absolutely fantastic. Now, there's not much that this man can't do. Actor, director, producer. We're here with Dustin. Wait, Dustin, can you tell me how did you get started in showbiz?
Well, it all started as a child. I love films just in general, just love the movies. And as probably most kids growing up in Asia, you grew up with sort of a diet of Hong Kong, action films, and which was the kids were allowed to watch back then. So it all stemmed from there. I think from very early on, I just had a tremendous love for the movies.
Absolutely.
And knew that somehow when I grew up, I would make movies, Whether it's, become an actor was just sort of something that wasn't really in my grand plan, but I just love movies, I could sweep the floor, I could be catering, I could be behind the camera, anything that involves with producing a story, telling a story.
So what was your first big break getting into showbiz and into movies?
Well, my first big break, I would have to say, it was the late 80s American television series called 21 Jump Street.
So for those in the audience who don't know that project, who were you working with on that?
Somewhat unknown actor named Johnny Depp. I have to say that it was a privilege, to work with him.
Do you find that your time in the States has influenced the way that you produce movies here in Vietnam?
I'm based in Ho Chi Minh City. My family's here, and my kids are here, and my work is here. When I first started making films here, there are a lot of adjustments that you have to kind of take into consideration when you make movies here. The demands are different, the economics limitations. The craft of making movies, I think, are the same everywhere, really. It doesn't matter if it's a $100 million movie or a $100,000 film. The craft of it, the way you go about it, doesn't change much. It's just the scale of it.
So as I listed before, you're an actor, director, producer. What's your kind of main focus right now?
Well, in the last few years, my main focus has been as a director and a producer. Our company, Dreamscape, DBS, which my wife runs, I've been focused on directing and producing films. The last year, I actually acted in 3 films. As an actor, you're a small part of the painting. You show up, you know your character, you know your lines, and you do the best job you can, and per the director's request to support the story. And then you go home and you sleep well, When you're directing or you're producing, there's no off time, Creatively, I love it. I love it because you get to be a storyteller. And I think it's one of the greatest art forms, you know. Vietnamese cinema at the moment, it's kind of like the wild, wild west, you know. There's really no studio systems here yet. It's a very small industry. You know, the box office, the annual box office here almost doubles every year. There are a lot of cinemas being built every year, which in turn allows producers to be able to spend a little more money into the project. Because of that, the quality will eventually and is getting better. You don't have a lot of money, so you have to be very creative. In any independent filmmaking, not just Vietnamese, the truth of the matter, you make independent film because nobody else lets you do it. So a lot of the young, I think Vietnamese filmmakers, they come back here because there's more opportunities for them to likely get a film made here versus, you know, elsewhere. I think in order for an industry to grow, in any art form, you know, certainly in films, you have to have a variety of things. And I think that's changing, certainly slowly, but it's changing in Vietnamese cinema. You're starting to see more genre, if you will, in the kind of films that are getting made.
So do you have any advice for any young filmmakers or any of the stars, the actresses and actors in Vietnam right now?
The most important, I truly believe, is to just go out and make a movie. You know, there's no excuse these days to not make a film. I mean, you can literally pick up, you know, one of these cameras here and go make a film. You got a story to want to tell, whether it's a short film or whatever, just go out and do it. You know, no one is stopping you but yourself. As for, you know, upcoming stars or performers and actors, you have to treat it like any other profession. You got to hone your craft and you got to study it and then you got to update your craft. You know, you don't just go to a few acting classes and declare yourself an actor. You know, it doesn't work like that. You need professionalism. You need to be good, and you need to have that desire to be the best you can be.
Hey, nếu mà tôi trở lại chơi vé số á, bà coi tôi như là một bụng chó đi.
Ông Subi trúng số! Ông Subi trúng số! Trời ơi, Subi trúng số!
Can you tell me a little bit about your most recent project, Jackpot?
You know, Jackpot or Trúng số in Vietnamese was a film that our company produced and I directed. And it came out this past Lunar New Year.
Right.
It's a true story of this lady who sold some lottery tickets to, let's say, to you.
Right.
And the tickets turned out to win the jackpot, you know, and technically she could have kept it for herself because the tickets haven't been paid for. But she actually searched out the client and informed him and gave him the tickets, and so it was a big story here with the press a few years ago. So we made a film about it, inspired by it, and it was a real big test for my wife and I. But we just felt, you know, the story really touched our hearts. And then when the film came out, of course, you know, it got a terrific response from the audience, and it touched most people's hearts. And then the icing on the cake was that it was chosen to represent Vietnam for the 2016 Oscar.
Wow.
Making a movie is chaos, and in the midst of it, it's easy to lose yourself. At the end of the day, you just have to go with your gut instinct and what your heart tells you, you know.
Well, thank you, Dustin, so much for sharing with us.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. I'm Dustin Nguyen, and you're watching Spicy Vietnam.
Coming up next time, we'll meet Ta Quang Thang, a country rock singer who has a huge following in Vietnam. We'll follow some of the hottest photographers and we'll see how the photography industry in Vietnam is growing. Don't forget hot food, where we'll enjoy Internos restaurant and also try some delicious grilled pork noodles. Not to be missed is our exclusive interview with one of the top international chefs from Australia, Luke Nguyen.
Và tôi đã thấy đời cũng như những giấc mơ nào không biết trước được lúc sau. Tỉnh giấc hay nằm mơ thì cũng như nhau. Và anh có thấy hạnh phúc đôi lúc quá xa vời, như cánh chim mải miết bay, mải miết bay về nơi phía cuối chân trời. Màn đêm khẽ nghiêng không còn nghe tiếng, chỉ là tôi với tôi. Rồi bỗng cất lên nốt nhạc hoang vắng, nỗi niềm đã vỡ tan rồi. Buồn vui cứ thay nhau hằn vết sâu, cõi lòng sâu rất sâu. Nhiều lúc rơi mà đã muốn rơi và cứ thế thôi. Tại sao chúng ta không thể ấm áp ngọt ngào như lúc xưa? Chỉ mong quên hết như đã bay qua chốn đây rồi hoa mưa.